Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast.
Where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and welcome back. It's 2025. It's our first episode for 2025 here. We were off last week.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody had a good New Year, good holiday. Angela, I can see by your additional, I don't even know what they're called.
They're cutie cuffs.
Cutie cuffs that you have on your microphone here. You had a pretty good holiday.
I did. Yeah, I got a couple villains. I did not get the hyena or Scar, but I think that she's my favorite. I like Hades is one of my favorite villains.
Or is that the Evil Queen?
No, it's the Evil Queen.
Sorry, from my angle, it was a little hard to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's not one of my favorites, but I think that she's pretty. Hades looks a little crazy, but he is one of my favorite villains. So
yeah, they're cool little things. So they're like those little like grab bags.
They're scrap bracelets.
But they're like those.
They're slap bracelets.
But they're like those grab bag things where like you don't know what you're gonna get.
Blind
like it's
boxes.
a random blind boxes. Yeah. Yeah, grab bag, blind box, whatever. I don't know any of the hip lingo.
Yeah, I don't do well with those. So I bought 2 Star Wars ones, and when I opened them, they were literally both Luke. So
you were disappointed there.
Yeah, I was very disappointed because I'm like, I could have gotten Ewok, I could have gotten Chewie, I could have gotten there were like 8 of them, and I got 2 of the same ones. But these ones, at least, I got 2 different ones.
Yeah, but we're back.
Yeah.
And so like we talked about in our last episode of 2024 where we recapped kind of our favorite episodes, kind of highlights from 2024, we mentioned that our first episode back in 2025 will be looking back at predictions we made 5 years ago now. So it was episode 84. It was our first episode in January of 2020. We made an episode where we said we are going to predict what is going to happen in the next decade. So it was the start of the 2020s, and we said we're going to make predictions for the next decade. And now that we're halfway through, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of look back and see, quite honestly, how spot on we were on some of these. And I don't want to say how far off we were on others because there's still 5 years left. So I don't want to say that it's a failed prediction at this point because there's still time. But I will say, going back and listening, Angela, to what you said about Moana 2 and the plot of Moana 2, you were, I would say, pretty spot on to the point where we may, like somebody from Disney may have been listening and been like, that's a pretty good plot. Let's just change a few things. But it followed pretty good.
I would say that the plot that I came up with was infinitely better, though.
It's basically the same plot, though. Like if you listen to, we'll get to it. It's pretty much the same plot, though. That it was pretty spot on. So we'll get into that. But before we kind of cover that, let's recap some Disney news of the week. So a couple of things down at Walt Disney World that are interesting that will impact your vacation planning. And I want people to hear the dates that Disney announced this for, and we'll kind of get into why those dates may sound familiar and be important. But Disney announced one thing, that free dining is coming back. So with the Disney dining plan returning like a year or 2 ago, free dining is starting to come back. I know a lot of people really like that, to be able to add on the free dining package. So Disney's offering this May 27th through June 26th, and then July 7th through August 6th. You have to purchase a 3-night, 3-day vacation package with an undiscounted room, so you can't take advantage of any of the room discounts currently, and also a park hopper ticket as well with this.
I would love to see the math on that to see how it works out, because if it's an undiscounted room, I don't know if the value would be in the food or if the value would come in getting a lower price for your hotel.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to play
night.
into. So the value and moderate hotels get the quick service dining plan, which is $57 per person per day. That's for any child over the age of 9. So children under 9, it's a little bit cheaper. And then deluxe hotels get the full Disney dining plan, which is $94 per person per day, again, for children over 9. So if you have a family of 4, let's say, and you could get $200 a day basically in value, yeah, is the hotel discount you're giving up less than $200, that Disney's offering a night on a, value or a moderate. So if you're staying at Pop Century or something and you're saving $100 a night on a hotel discount and you got a family of 4, you're basically doubling your value. So that's the kind of math you have to play with it here.
Yeah. I feel like it makes sense if you probably have more people, then you stand to get more off of food, maybe, like a fuller hotel room
Right.
versus if you, if like we went and we got discounted. I don't know. I feel like the
Yeah,
hotel room might be a better
I'd have
value.
to
I mean,
imagine.
I've not obviously run the numbers, but it
Yeah,
just
I'd have to
seems,
imagine. Yeah, you're probably looking at like 3 or 4 adults. Like if you have children under 9, again, the dining plan costs even less, so it's less of a discount you're getting. But yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, family of 4. If you're getting $200 a night over 3 nights, that's a $600 basically savings. I don't know that the hotel room discounts are that great, and maybe they
Mhm.
are, maybe they aren't. So, the other thing that Disney announced is that the annual pass holders can get hotel discounts as well, and they're announcing this for the summer. So there are some discounts now, I think through February for annual pass holders, but Disney's already gone ahead and announced summer discounts, so you can get up to 35% off in May, and then up to 45% off from June 1st to July 31st. So again, kind of the same time frame that this free dining is in. Now, again, you can't take advantage of the hotel discounts. And even if you're not an annual pass holder, there are discounts on hotels as well, but they're just a little bit higher for the annual pass holders. But what I think is interesting is the timing of all this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder they must be anticipating that being a low time.
Well, yeah, so the hotel discounts are in May, and the free dining starts May 27th, which I believe is the day of or a few days after Epic Universe
Yeah.
opens. And so I do think this is very interesting that Disney is announcing all of these discounts pretty far in advance for the summer,
Yeah.
right around Epic Universe. So
Trying to harness the crowds a little bit, maybe pull some people over that are
well,
going to be
I
coming
have to
go
imagine
there.
it's
And
yeah,
they anticipate they're going to have low crowds.
well, I have to imagine that nobody's booking. I mean, the fact that they're announcing hotel discounts 5-6 months in advance, I think is a little bit early. I think they typically don't announce them that far in advance. And again, just the timing of all this stuff, it seems like they probably are seeing light bookings for Epic Universe here. So that probably bodes well for Disney fans if they're already announcing these type of discounts now. If things don't pick up, there's probably going to be more discounts.
Deeper discounts, yeah.
There's probably going to be discounts into the fall.
Yeah,
like later
everybody
in
pay
the year.
attention.
But, if you don't want to go in July when it's 1,000 degrees, maybe you can get something a little bit, later in the year. So it'll be interesting to track this of like, yeah, how early is Disney starting to announce these discounts? How deep are the discounts compared to prior years? And I think that will really tell how Epic Universe is actually impacting Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point.
All right, so let's get into what our predictions were, and we'll kind of see how we're doing so far. So our first predictions were about Walt Disney World. So Angela, you predicted that Disney World was going to announce massive expansions. Now, this was back when Disney was like acquiring additional land down in Florida. And, they mentioned
Didn't they buy like some ranch or something?
yeah, and they have to acquire because they have to keep so much land for like preservation and like they can't develop all of their land. So like they were buying additional land. So the thought was this will allow them to expand in other kind of areas down in Florida.
So I was thinking that they would put Zootopia into Animal Kingdom because there is a like very natural shoe in there, which I mean, they are putting something in Animal Kingdom. They are putting Encanto and Indiana Jones over there.
Well, and they're doing that Zootopia show in the Tree of Life where it's tough to be a
Yeah.
bug. They're replacing that with Zootopia. So like you're
I mean, I
kind
feel-
of right on this one.
I
but
feel like
not
they're
a full
doing
land.
that because I think a lot of people expected them to put Zootopia in like where they're putting Encanto and Indy.
Yeah, so like I think Shanghai, they had announced Zootopia Land for Shanghai, and so I think like you were thinking, oh, like put it in Animal Kingdom,
Yeah.
as a big expansion. But yeah, like we're not getting a full Zootopia Land. Now we are getting a Villains Land, so
Yeah.
like they did announce some expansions. Like you're kind of right, but maybe not necessarily like the right properties in there.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was doing what I thought would work the best. Now I will say Villains Land I think is better than what my concepts were. Like that is really, really exciting to me, and I think that is just like a very it's so interesting that they are going to go that route. I could also see them doing like a Descendants show over there. Like, couldn't you see them doing that once Villains Land opens? Because I think you
I don't think Descendants, but I mean,
Well,
it's kind of like,
I
I
think
mean, they're
that-
doing that villain show at Hollywood Studios where like, it's all about the villains and kind of like them getting, it's what called like Unfairly Ever After or something like that. Like, it's all about like their background, which is kind of like what Descendants was, like
That's
the
what I'm
villains
saying,
kind
like,
of getting their,
because I could
like,
see them not wanting to, like, you know, really make the villains look good, but at the same time, like, like giving people a chance, or kind of like, I feel like Descendants, that's kind of like what Descendants is about.
yeah,
is-
but I don't think
know,
it's going to be Descendants though. But I
Oh,
think
no,
it's
I
going to
don't think
kind
the
of be
whole thing's
that.
gonna be
Yeah.
Descendants, but I'm saying I could see them putting like
No,
a
it's
Descendants
gonna
show
be
in.
no. I think it's gonna be the classic villains there. That's what I'm saying.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think they do anything.
Well,
with
listen, in
Descendants
5
there.
years we can come back to this episode and see if I was right.
Yeah, I mean the other thing you said was in Epcot, Pacific Island. So adding a complete new country in
Yeah.
Epcot with the Moana
And I
area.
have to say, this one isn't, they didn't put the country in, but you got Moana Journey of Water, which I think was, I mean, it is an interesting way for them to incorporate like the Polynesian islands, and like, you know, it's not a country, but it is in Epcot. So I was kind of right here.
Yeah, so you again, you kind of got this half right. Like, there is a Zootopia attraction, Moana attraction, not kind of fully there. I said no fifth park at Walt Disney World. So you were talking about like major expansions, you know, new lands. I said no fifth park. So far, looking pretty good on that. Disney's not announced anything or had any indication into a fifth park. Everything they've announced has been at existing parks, which I think is good. I also kind of said that they would get back or buy the rights for the Marvel theme park rights from Universal, which again, halfway through the decade has not happened yet. But this is where I like to say, hey, it's not a failed prediction. It just hasn't happened yet. There are like some rumors that Universal is looking to overhaul Superhero Island. Like, once Epic Universe opens, that they are going to expand, like with Nintendo, like Legend of Zelda has always been rumored for
I hope so.
for the Lost Continent there, and like
Yeah.
Pokemon and stuff. And so like that Lost Continent area, they've closed all those attractions there. They've not announced anything. So there has been some like revived talk about, you know, Universal bringing in some more Nintendo, maybe Harry Potter, and getting rid of Superhero Island, which I think once that happens, the rights automatically revert back to Disney. So this could happen.
Would they get rid of that? Okay, so I was looking at I think it was like Disney News, and Disney, I guess, is it. I didn't read a whole lot about it, but it sounded like they're putting feelers out about bringing Simpsons into the parks since they own the Simpsons. And so I am curious, like,
But Universal has Simpsons.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if they're just like, you know what, this is like now a Disney thing. Like, maybe we just get rid of. I mean, I don't know where it is like located in the park. We haven't been to
Universal?
Yeah, but I'm
I
thinking
see
like
Universal Studios.
yeah, like they could get rid of Simpsons and then. Anyway, I know we're not talking about Universal.
Yeah, no, but I think there's a lot of that, because I think, you know, back when Universal like got Marvel, and obviously Simpsons was Fox, so that's just kind of like a weird thing. But like back when they got Marvel, like they didn't have much in the way of IP, so they really needed Marvel. So that's why they have that deal where like nobody else can have like Marvel property wherever they have their parks. Like over in Japan, they did have a Marvel Land too, and they got rid of all those attractions. So now like the rights to Marvel in Japan have reverted back to Disney. So like Tokyo Disney could potentially add Marvel there. So like I could see this happening in the US too, because now with Nintendo and Harry Potter, like people don't go to Islands of Adventure for Marvel Superhero Island. Like, it's there, it's cool, but like that's not what's driving people to go there. So I mean, I think that's probably some of the reason why too, like Disney's starting to use a little bit of Marvel characters, and it's really not a big deal. And I know some of it's around like which characters they can and can't use, but like at the end of the day, I don't think it's really moving the needle for Universal one way or the other. And honestly, I think if Disney gets the right back to it in Florida, I don't know that them building an Avengers campus is really going to move the needle for them there either. So like, I almost think it's weird that like these theme park rights to Marvel kind of are like a moot point for both of them. Like, I don't really see it being super impactful in Florida for either of them, whoever has it.
I think the thing that's dangerous about putting Marvel anywhere is that they're in this really weird area of flux now. And so it's like you had your original Marvel characters, which were very immensely popular. And over in Disneyland, they didn't do a whole lot with it. And so now that it's more in that area of flux, what would they do over, aside from maybe like putting in Wakanda? I think that is maybe the one thing they could do that would be really, really different and cool. And so, like, that would probably be the only thing, because you figure Wakanda's still going to be there. It's still going to be cool. It's still going to be immersive, even though the Black Panther has changed. But that is, like, a character that has made, like, a really interesting transition. Other than doing that, I don't see it being that interesting of a property. I think they have more interesting properties that they could use to create a land with over in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and I think Black Panther they might be able to even use, like how they can use Guardians of the Galaxy at Walt Disney World. So like again, even with some of this, like, is it really a huge thing? I don't know. Kind of sticking with Walt Disney World, I also said Monsters Inc. Land. Nailed that one. For sure. Mentioned going into Hollywood Studios, so got that right. We even brought up, I think you mentioned it, a retheme of Rock and Roller Coaster. Did not mention the Muppets.
Yeah.
I kind of talked about, again, kind of going back to Disney getting the rights to Marvel, that they have Tower of Terror there over in Disneyland. They've retrofitted that to Mission Breakout over in Paris. Their Rock and Roller Coaster is the Avengers Flight Force. So I was kind of saying, hey, they're going to retheme all those around Avengers and build an Avengers campus there. So that's kind of where I was going. Now we got a retheme with the Muppets, and then, Monsters Inc. Land going over in Muppets Courtyard. So it didn't have the specific details, but I think that was a pretty good prediction there across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of when Monsters University came out. But then they also,
I think, out a while
was
ago,
that right around when they were putting out the Monsters Inc. shorts? Because they had the shorts.
Might have been. Those were, I'm not
Disney
sure
Plus.
exactly when, but those were a few years ago. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking that it does it. To me, Monsters Inc. is super logical because you have 3 movies, you have shorts.
I think 2 movies. I think it's just Monsters Inc. and Monsters University, right? I don't think there's a third
there's
one.
not Monsters Inc. 2. You're right. I think it is 2.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't know where I made up a third movie.
But they have the show and like the shorts and stuff. Yeah.
So it's like there is a good I have no idea where my mind went there. But there is enough content there, and they are such unique characters, and the world is very bright and imaginative. It's the same argument that I made for Zootopia, as it's just like, it's so interesting that they would be silly not to utilize it, as opposed to some of the other properties which are set in more like reality. Another thing that they could do like that would be like an area that is centered around like the inside of Riley's brain or something. Like that would be super cool because of all the colors and the brightness and the emotions.
They've not made a really good Inside Out attraction. And I have to imagine now that Inside Out 2 has done so well and is like the #1 animated movie of all time, that they will be more likely to do an actual Inside Out attraction. Now they have the Emotional Whirlwind over at Disney California Adventure, which was basically just an existing flat ride that they rethemed to Inside Out. So again, like there technically is an Inside Out attraction, but it's not like it's a unique, very good one. But you're right, like an e-ticket dark ride, maybe a trackless ride through Inside Out. Like that universe is so good that I think that could be really well done. And I have to imagine like they're definitely thinking about it now, more so that the second one is done so well, because that's what drives everything. It's like, what does well at the box office? That's why you have Toy Story attractions everywhere, because all the Toy Story movies make a ton of money. Monsters Inc. is very popular. That's why we have a lot of Monsters Inc. attractions. Like, I think now that Inside Out 2 is doing well, same with Frozen. Like, we're getting Worlds of Frozen everywhere because Frozen has made so much money. That,
and they're making 2 more movies? Is it up to 4 now?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe they said, hey, 3, and then I think this last D23 they announced they're making a 4th one.
Is a definitive thing too.
So I think Inside Out 2 it made so much money they'll make something.
So you know how when we went to Australia, there was it was Luna Park, and didn't you like go into like like the moon's mouth or whatever?
Yeah.
I could see that with like Riley's head. Like you're entering her head, and then there's like a land beyond where you get a couple attractions. Like that would be so cool. Like going into her head and then getting to see like the Dream Factory.
I mean, just recap the first or second movie. I mean, just being in there in that world, it's colorful, it's fun. Like, it would be a super fun attraction
like,
to do that.
I will say it would be, you know how there's like that carnival aspect does not fit well with Animal Kingdom, but it almost feels like that could have happened there. Like, I don't know, there's something about
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
it doesn't
on that
fit.
One. Yeah, it doesn't
but
fit
like
at all.
I'm thinking like it would be like a carnival aspect, like going inside her head. It's not that it would go there. And they don't they have like is it a candy shop over in Disneyland, or there was also one on the boat
Disney
on the
California
Wish.
Adventure.
Wasn't there
At Disney California Adventure, they have like Bing Bong's candy shop.
Yeah, and don't they have
on
something
the
like that on the Wish?
Yeah,
There
so that's
was
what I said. They have little inside out stuff, but I think either at Hollywood Studios, if you expand kind of, again, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., you kind of build out a Pixar area, or over at DCA as they expand, I think that would be a good place.
Yeah, it would be.
There as well.
Speaking of cruises, I was looking at an article like years ago from boardwalktimes.net about Disney buying another island. So I can't take full credit for this, but
you predicted it. You said it was going to happen, and it did happen.
I believed in them, and then it happened.
Yeah. So yeah, we got Lighthouse Point.
Yeah.
So that did open. So yeah, 100% on that one. Again,
Absolutely.
a couple of these we nailed like pretty spot on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one's really cool, and I think that this island looks really. I'm excited to go here. We went to Joe's parents for Christmas, and they had the Disney Christmas celebration on TV.
Oh yeah, like
and
the main street that they
yeah,
filmed
and they
there.
show the show is called like what Jumbaloo.
Junkaroo. It looks amazing.
It looked amazing. And then Michael Bublé started playing, and I'm like, get him off the screen. I want to see more of Junkaroo.
I have to say one kind of sidetrack about the Disney Christmas parade that they had. The whole show is a commercial for Disney, okay? Mm-hmm. But that's not enough for them. When they go to commercial break,
more commercials.
It's all Disney park commercials about. I'm like, isn't this whole thing like a 2-hour commercial for Disney that you need to have Disney commercials in the commercials? I was like, this.
It's a bit much.
We get it. It's
You're
fun.
a powerhouse.
You want us to
we
go.
get it.
Yeah.
You want us to go. You want it to
funny.
seem magical.
Yeah, but you're right. I think when I first saw Lighthouse Point, I kind of was like, I don't know that it looks that great. I mean, Castaway Cay was fun. That's like its own private island. Lighthouse Point is a section of another island.
And it's also isn't that one the one? Is that the one that they have like the 99-year lease on?
I think that's how they all do it. I think even Castaway Cay, like I don't know that you can
fully buy the island.
Fully buy it.
I don't know if you're the Walt Disney Corporation. I feel like you can, but
after seeing like the show and the entertainment and all the stuff they have at Lighthouse Point, like it seems so much cooler than Castaway Cay, and now I'm like, I definitely want to go there. Like I'm super excited about it. So their commercial worked. Their 2-hour commercial of getting me excited about Disney apparently worked.
Yeah, I just like how it seems like they've incorporated like the more local culture into it, and then it
just
also
seems like there's more to do. Like there's more stuff to do.
Yeah,
it seems
Castaway
like
Cay, it was like you can do the 5K.
It's more relaxed. I think
there's
that's the difference. I think Castaway Cay is going to be more like, hey, you want to kind of relax, and there's definitely stuff to do. You can do snorkeling, and I think Lighthouse Point is maybe more of like active entertainment. And I think having them where you go to both of them in a cruise, like it kind of caters to different people, and I think it gives you different options. Like, hey, you want maybe more relaxed beach experience, go to the one that goes to Castaway Cay. You want one that has shows, entertainment, it's going to give you a bunch of stuff to do, go to Lighthouse Point. And that gives them like different options.
I mean, I did enjoy like over at Castaway Cay, like the snorkeling and looking at the things that were sunk in the water. I thought that was really fun. Like it was definitely really fun. We got to do the run as well. We were definitely busy the whole time, but I don't see that island as a place that I'm like, I want to go back there again and again and again, because it's like you've experienced it one time, and I don't know that
I want to go back again and again. It was fun.
I'm not a I'm not, I feel like most people are gonna think I'm weird, but I'm not a beach person. Like I would
No,
rather
you're
go
not-
for a hike on a
You're
mountain.
not a relaxed person. You can't relax.
No.
That's your problem. Is you just
I like
you don't
need
know
to
how
be
relax.
busy.
Yeah. You don't know how
And
to
if
relax.
I'm just like laying there, I'm like, I'm on vacation and I'm doing nothing. This seems like a waste of my time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it comes down to. So a good prediction there. So we had a couple good predictions in a row. So let's get to some bad predictions. You said
that Disney was gonna buy DJI.
Yeah, the drone
company.
And again, while I don't want to say this is a failed prediction, this was your prediction. I don't think it made any sense at all back in 2020. I think it makes even less sense today.
Well, no, what I was thinking.
You just buy drones from other people.
I mean, yes, I agree. But I think what this was more all about, and maybe I should have said this instead, is that Disney was going to start incorporating drone shows in their parks.
That makes more sense. Not that they're going to buy a drone company.
I think I just really went big on that one.
Yeah, you were like, it's not going to be enough that they're going to have drones. They need to own all of the drones so that nobody else can have drones. Made no sense.
Yeah, but I think that's what I was driving at, and that was correct.
That was
because there
correct.
have been
Yes.
parks that have
Yes.
incorporated it, although we have not seen it stateside.
Yeah, but they've done it at Disney Springs.
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's true.
Like,
That is true.
It's definitely coming. So I also said another one that got wrong was that Moana would be the next Broadway musical. So I was incorrect on that. Now, there is a Moana show on the Treasure, which looks phenomenal.
Oh my goodness, that Taka puppet
Yes.
is incredible. If you have not seen, I forget who it was. Was it Disney or
It
Disney
was-
Imagineering?
I don't know if it was Disney Parks or Disney Cruise Line, but one
Or
of them.
even, like, Disney
Disney
Imagineering.
Entertainment. They have a lot of like social media
It's
accounts.
kind of irritating how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
they have, but they have a bunch of different social media. And like, so it was on Instagram, and they showed this Taka puppet, and I think it's a 4-person puppet. It is
It's pretty big.
insane. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. So anyway, if you haven't seen that, check it out.
It's going to be an amazing show.
Oh, yeah.
So half credit for that one. That's coming out.
I think that they would be silly not to bring it to Broadway after
Right.
seeing that puppet.
But it's not the next show because Hercules is coming to the West End, and that's basically Broadway.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna go to London this year.
Yeah, so that is opening this year. So that's basically the next show. And then they announced at D23 they were working on The Greatest Showman as their next Broadway show. So Moana's maybe gonna happen. Like I think if it does well on the Disney Treasure, yeah, maybe it becomes a full Broadway show. But it was not the next one. So I was incorrect there. Now, speaking of Moana, let's get to Moana 2 here because Angela, you predicted that they were going to make a Moana 2, which I think was a safe prediction. Like, I think that was a safe prediction that they're going to make another Moana, but you had a title and a plot and everything. So
Did Moana 2 have a? No, it didn't have.
no,
like
it's
a
just called
title.
Moana 2. They're doing that, like Frozen, Frozen 2, Frozen 3, Toy Story.
Do you think
1,
it's like
2,
a
3, 4.
simplification situation? Like, I guess like it just kind of keeps it simple.
I think they want you to just to be able to say, I like Moana.
And I'm just gonna roll right into the next
Yes,
one.
I want to see Moana.
And this is the order that it goes
What
in.
Moana?
'Cause it's like,
Doesn't matter.
Because you got to think about it. Like with Pirates of the Caribbean, it is like, you can't be like Pirates 2, Pirates 3, Pirates 4.
I think it's more of a live action thing because you figure even with like the live action Lion King, it's called Mufasa, the Lion King. Like I think live action,
They differentiate
you
it.
tend to have like subtitles to it, but like animation, yeah, it basically is just like because they even did that with like the Lion King. It was the Lion King 1.5, the Lion King 2, like
The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride.
okay, that one did have Simba's Pride. Okay, but
And
like,
the Lion King, the Lion King 1.5 was just 1.5.
but
I
a
feel
lot
like,
of them just are numbered. Like
Yeah.
Toy Story does that, so like a lot of them all do that. So yeah, it was Moana 2, but you said it was gonna be called Ride the Tide. Okay,
which is a great title.
it is a great title. I'm gonna play what your prediction was because I want everybody to hear this specifically what you said in January of 2020, and then I'll let everybody make up their own mind whether they think Disney was listening to this show and kind of took some plot points from it. So this is what you said back in 2020.
So Moana is really taking to her role as chief, moving her village from island to island when need be, and exploring the unknown when a horrible storm causes her and her people to crash land on an island after narrowly escaping with their lives. They set up a village on the resource-deficient island to wait out the storm, but it doesn't stop. To confirm her suspicions that something is gravely wrong, Maui shows up in
I was
hawk
saying,
form.
Maui's got to be in there.
Yep. In hawk form to inform her that one of the gods is angry and causing the issue. People all over the world are stranded, much like her and her people. Moana and Maui set out on a perilous journey by air to solve the mystery and appease the god before her people starve to death.
Okay, basically, you missed having a Chi-Hu in there, and you had it. So you mentioned...
And I had more powerful reason for her actually going out.
You did. But hey...
I did not predict the sister.
It might have been a show. Maybe, that was on the cutting room floor. But you mentioned that Moana was going to be traveling across different islands, which we see her doing that. You specifically mentioned that it's a storm that strands them, and it's a god that caused the storm, which... This was the god of thunder or whatever, causing a storm. You mentioned that the other tribes and people were stranded as well, which they specifically mentioned. All of the tribes are cut off because this god is angry, creating this storm and cutting off everybody from the ocean. And that Maui will come and help her and kind of tell her. Now, she got like the ancestors told her, and they'll get now. You said specifically by air. She still went by sea.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, that's pretty spot on to the plot of what we got from Moana.
Yeah, I really wish, now listening back to that, I wish that they would have talked about like this, like the god causing the storm, like it actually keeping them stranded.
But they mentioned that. I mean, they
they said that they can't connect with the other people, but they didn't make it seem perilous. Like the way that I articulated it was essentially that they were cut off, and because they were cut off and they were stranded, their way of life was damaged, and I was kind of hinting that they weren't going to survive, which is what they were, I think, what they were kind of going for, but they never articulated.
Well, it was a whole thing of like, because at the beginning of the movie, the actual movie, not your movie, the actual movie, and for those of you not seen it, some minor spoilers, but Moana is traveling, searching for other people, and she can't find them, and she keeps coming back, and she wonders, where is everybody? Like there has to be some other civilization out there. We can't be alone. And then she finds out there is. Everybody is just trapped and disconnected. And that is kind of the driving factor of like the connection. Like they're going to die out because they can't share their culture, and everybody's culture can't be shared. So that whenever their people die, that's it for that group of people. So like they need to be able to reconnect and share ideas, that sort of thing. So that was kind of driving factor. So you kind of mentioned that. I was impressed, like going back and listening to this again, because this was before a Moana, and again it was a TV show at first, streaming show, like before this was even announced. But I mean, did somebody hear it? I don't know.
I have no idea, but I mean, I think I did a good job.
I think that was a very good prediction.
Yeah.
That was a very good prediction. You're very specific, and that was a very good prediction.
I don't know where I got the by air, though. That just makes no sense.
Well, because I think you're like, hey, there's a storm, there's an issue by sea, they can't get off, so they have to go by air.
Well, she does get assistance by air in her fight in the second movie.
Okay. So
there's air assistance without getting into any spoilers.
Okay. All right.
Maybe that's how I can make it work. But that also happens in the first movie, so
yeah. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. So, all right, I talked about Shanghai. So I had a couple predictions for Shanghai Disney. I said that they would be putting a Pandora land in Shanghai, which have not announced. They did announce one's going into Disneyland. So they definitely are kind of building out Pandora lands in other areas. So again, we got 5 years for this to be correct. I also mentioned a second park in Shanghai, or potentially one in India. So kind of further expansion. Again, neither of those have happened, but you do kind of feel like they're starting to do some expansions in Shanghai. Like you do feel like a second park is probably inevitable out there.
I also do really feel like it is interesting that we have not. So what was the last Shanghai was? Or no, was it Hong Kong? What was the
Shanghai
last one?
was the last one, 2016, I believe. Yeah.
Because I feel like there's got to be, because India has what, billions of people. It's pretty. Their population's pretty huge. I mean, China's is huge.
Yeah, I think I said that because that's like the next biggest market after China. So that's why I was like, either they're going to expand in China, or if they expand into other markets like India, kind of seems like the next place to go.
Yeah.
But again, they're kind of breaking into a new market there, so that's probably not something they want to do. They probably just want to expand on where they are existingly. So
The other
we'll
one
see.
that I could see, because I feel like I've seen a number of people coming up from South America, is like in Brazil. Somewhere in Brazil.
It could be, South
them
America,
like getting a South American, and especially since like Walt has ties to like Central and South America. I just like we've seen big tour groups from Brazil and stuff coming up. That would be like a good place for them to put it.
Yeah, again, I think at this point, I don't think Disney is interested in new markets.
Yeah,
You know,
mean,
I think things have changed. Like I think, again, 5
Well,
years ago,
ever
it
since,
was more
yes.
expansion. I think now it's kind of like, let's make the parks we have better. So I could see a second park
And
in
there's
Shanghai,
the risk.
but
They learned the risk in
Yeah.
the parks because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, they want that becomes a liability.
yeah, so we'll see that. But I'm still feeling good about Pandora
Yeah,
in
I
Shanghai
think so.
and potentially a second park there. So also talked about Disney buying Netflix.
Which is comical.
So I thought Disney would buy Netflix. You thought Universal would, like Comcast would buy Netflix. We really just kind of thought somebody was going to buy Netflix. It's kind of what we thought. This was like the beginning of the streaming wars. And now, everybody's probably like, why would, like, Netflix is huge. Netflix dwarfs all the other streaming services. Look, it was different times back then, okay? It was
and
different
Netflix
times
has been
back
a-
in 2020.
a very interesting company because, I mean, for people who maybe are younger and don't realize, Netflix started as a company that you basically had a subscription. It was like Blockbuster, which I'm really bringing it out there, where instead of going to a video store to rent a video, you had a physical DVD that was sent to your house in an envelope, and then you would watch it and then mail it back to them, and then they'd give you another one. Like, I can't remember if you just
Blockbuster, they offered to sell, like, they tried to sell themselves to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster said, like, no thanks, we're good.
yeah. So
And then
like
they put them out of business.
So like it's incredible because like Netflix went from that and then they pivoted to, okay, we're going to do this like streaming thing, and they were one of the pioneers in streaming, but they weren't super like they were big, but they were still kind of making that conversion from the mail-in company to the okay, now we're a streaming company, and then they just kind of have really blown up.
Yeah, so I went back and looked. So back in 2020, Netflix only had 200 million subscribers. Now, I know you're like, what, only? Like, that seems like a lot. But now, and that's worldwide. Now I think they're up to like 300 plus million. Like, they're way bigger now. And their market cap, they were only worth 160 billion. So at that time, that was about the same as what Disney was worth. So it kind of made more sense back then. Now Netflix is twice the size of Disney. So now that's like today, you're like, why would Disney buy Netflix? Netflix could probably buy Disney because they're twice as big as Disney. But like 5 years ago, they were much more equals in the space.
I also feel like 5 years ago, Netflix had the rights to some shows, like I think The Office maybe was one of them, and it might have been the time where like The Office was starting to get pulled.
They had all the Marvel shows too. I mean, that's when they had like Daredevil and Punisher and all that sort of stuff.
But
yeah.
I think some of that content was starting to get pulled from them because these different companies wanted to have their
starting
own
their own.
stuff to
Yeah,
build their own
yeah.
streaming service. So it started to look like Netflix was now going to have to pivot again to like create their own
like original shows.
which they did. Like
Yeah.
now we have like Squid Games and things that like you can only get from Netflix. They are Netflix shows. There are Netflix movies that have actual like real movie stars that they're just making the movies that they're passionate about, but for Netflix audience that aren't really going to the big movie theaters. It's just so interesting, the difference now versus then.
Yeah, I think the whole idea was like Disney was new into streaming. Like they needed to build out their library. Netflix has a huge library. Go ahead and buy them. I think that's why you said, hey, Comcast, somebody. Like now, I don't think anybody's buying them. Netflix is just too big. Like nobody's buying Netflix at this point. So I think this one is definitely a failed prediction.
It is, but you know what? Actually, I just thought about it. It isn't. We picked the wrong company. They bought Hulu.
That's true. They bought Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, they bought
Yeah.
Hulu. So they did buy another streaming service. It wasn't Netflix, but
No,
they
we
actually...
talked Netflix. We were pretty confident somebody was buying Netflix.
Listen though.
Pretty
they
confident.
did buy something else to build out their library.
Yeah.
So we were wrong about the company, but we were right about them.
Well, no,
trying
you never
to buy
said
somewhere
Disney was
else.
buying Netflix. You said Comcast was.
Okay.
You thought we thought somebody was buying Netflix. We were flat out wrong there. No,
All right.
Comcast and Disney. You're right. They did fight over another streamer, over Hulu, but that didn't happen. Now, speaking of streaming, you had a prediction about Baby Yoda, about Grogu. This one was wrong as well because
Super
this
wrong.
happened. But yeah,
Because
what
I
was
don't
that
think
one?
he's ever going to have a first word. Do you think he'll ever? I predicted his first words were going to be "I love you" because Baby Yoda is cute, and that would be a very cute thing for him to do. But I
I guess he hasn't talked yet. So I guess this isn't technically a failed. I feel in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's spoken words. Through the Force, we know his name is Grogu, so he's definitely said something. But in my mind, he's actually spoken. But yeah, he hasn't done that yet. So it actually could still be "I love you."
yeah, it could be, but it's.
Is
I
he
don't
ever going
know.
to talk? That movie at the end, when the Mandalorian's dying to save him, and Grogu goes up and is like, "I love you," and then the Mandalorian dies, and everybody starts crying in the theater. I think it could happen. That's going to be an impactful first word.
Or would it be "Love you, I"?
Who knows? We don't know how he talks.
Love I you. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what the grammar of that sentence would be.
Yeah, I don't know where this idea came from, but
I think it was just the. It's just the idea that he is cute, and that would be cute.
that'd be a cute thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really think it's gonna happen, and I think that it would ruin it a little bit if he spoke. But it does kind of make me think of like what they did with Groot, where it's like Groot never said anything but "I am Groot," except for in the third movie when you see it from whose perspective was it?
Well, it's our perspective. We finally learn how to speak Groot.
Yeah.
And that's what we learned. Like, he was never saying "I am Groot." It was just we didn't speak it.
Yeah.
But now we're in the inner circle. I will say
Yeah.
this. I don't think...
I loved that. I thought that was so
Yeah.
cute.
I don't think Grogu talks at all. My guess what happens is he shows up in Rey's new movie like 50 years after this takes place when he's more of an adult, and that's when he's talking. Like, I think Baby Yoda, Grogu, in the form he is now in the Mandalorian movies, I don't think he ever talks. I don't think he ever really advances past where he is. I think it's going to be, 50, 60 years down the road when they jump into the next trilogy. He'll be 100, 150 years old, and that's when he'll kind of start talking.
So here's my question too. What does 100-year-old Yoda-like creature look like? Because we've only seen the baby version of Yoda, and I think he's supposed to be what, like 100?
He's like 50.
Is he 50?
He's like 50.
Okay,
yeah,
and
50,
then isn't
60.
like Yoda whenever he's like,
like
dying?
900.
Isn't he like 900? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old Yaddle is, who is the other Yoda-like creature, but I feel like that one was also, I don't know, a little
He just
older.
looks like a bigger Grogu. I think.
Yeah,
I think
but
he just
like
kind of gets
he's,
older. Yeah.
He's walking.
He's just
more
like a younger,
readily.
sprier Yoda, is I think kind of what he looks like. But that's my guess, is that he shows up kind of in this new trilogy.
Yeah,
so.
maybe.
So our last two predictions were kind of around movies. So mine was that Disney would get the rights back to Spider-Man and the Spider-Man universe from Sony. What I did not foresee was how bad Sony would be at making Spider-Man universe movies, to the point where everything they've tried with Morbius and Madam Web and all of these movies just bombed so bad at the box office that now they've kind of realized we should just let Marvel make the Spider-Man movies, and it really doesn't even matter now who owns the rights to them, because basically...
Don't they get some sort of royalty or something?
Yeah, I mean, Sony owns the rights to it, and they kind of like split it, but like, for all intents and purposes, Spider-Man's in the MCU. Marvel's making the good Spider-Man movies. Sony's basically announced they've given up on their Spider-Man universe with the Craven movie, because it did not do well, and now that Venom, they were decent movies, but now that trilogy is done, they're kind of like, yeah, we know we're not good at this anymore. We give up. So at this point, it doesn't really matter. I didn't foresee that, but...
It's kind of a great deal for them, though, because they don't have to really put forth much, and then they still get a cut.
They kind of co-finance it. Like, they put up half the budget, and they get half the profits. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah, but like, it's like, yo, y'all are doing great, so...
Well, it's just funny. They tried doing it by themselves.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to make this whole universe. And they all did terrible. And now they're just like, we're good. So I didn't foresee that, but did foresee that. So, and then you had one.
Yeah, and my prediction
I'm glad this one didn't happen.
was that the Jungle Cruise was going to be a smash hit and start a 6-movie franchise. franchise.
You saw this as the next Pirates of the Caribbean.
I was thinking it was going to be the next Pirates of the Caribbean because I think that The Rock does have a charisma to him. But the thing is that there's something on that, like, on that movie, like, it didn't work on some level. It wasn't something that you're like, you were antsy to see more of. It wasn't something that I was like, this is great. I don't like, it's very forgettable. I don't remember. I think I liked it. Like, I think I did like the movie, but it wasn't something that I was like, wow, this is so interesting.
Yeah. And I can't remember if I'm dreaming this or I actually did hear this, but I think they're potentially working on a second one. Or
then maybe I'm not wrong.
Of a second one. But I don't think it's going to be a 6-movie franchise. And I'm glad because I don't want to see 6 of those movies. You're right. It was good. It was decent. But there's not enough story there to make 6 of those. So I'm glad so far that that's not happened.
I think the thing that worked with Pirates of the Caribbean, so like the Jungle Cruise isn't really founded on any sort of like supernatural tendencies. But the thing is like that, and we've talked about this before in other episodes, that you might not realize about Pirates of the Caribbean, but
it was time travel.
You are time traveling when you go onto the ride Pirates of the Caribbean, and they were kind of playing with that idea of these are people that stole a magic gold that basically made them immortal, but they were also dead and they couldn't experience life. So like they have a really cool like idea there that sort of perpetuated them through the rest of the movies. And then you have a character who is very like savvy. See what I did there? Who's very savvy and like very interesting, and you don't know which way he's going. It's like one of my favorite types of characters besides like the fish out of water character. So like he was so interesting. Captain Jack Sparrow is so interesting that, you know, he kind of helped propel the series forward too.
Yeah, and even that, I mean, it got 5 movies, and that was probably too many. You know, like it's very rare.
Was he in the 4th one at all? I can't remember.
Captain Jack, he's been in all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in all of them. But like, it's very rare that franchises can go past 3 or 4 movies without some sort of change in direction. Like you look at Mission Impossible, they did 3. It was kind of, nobody was really excited about it anymore. And then they kind of came out years later with like a 4th one, a whole new different direction. And it kind of breathed new life into a new story. Fast and the Furious, a similar thing. Like the first few Fast and the Furious movies, very different than like them now going to space in cars and stuff. Like you need something to kind of change it up. And I think like Pirates never did that. Now they're talking about a potential 6th movie, maybe kind of going in a different direction. That may breathe some new life into it. But yeah, the Jungle Cruise, I feel like they needed to lean more into like the secret societies behind the Jungle Cruise, like the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, like the Skipper.
Yeah, weren't we supposed to get a show about that?
Yeah, they've talked about that, of like doing movies and shows, either theaters
based on
or,
sea.
Yeah, based on that, of like Big Thunder Mountain and Haunted Mansion, because they all like Big Thunder Mountain and Haunted Mansion and Jungle Cruise and all that sort of stuff, because they all do kind of tie together. And I feel like if they would have done that, maybe they could have gotten, you know, a larger franchise out of it, but they obviously didn't go that direction. So yeah, good movie, but yeah, I don't see this being the next, you know, mega franchise that Disney had. But all in all, I think pretty good. We had some like, I think spot on predictions.
Yeah.
Some not so spot on predictions, and then I think some kind of in the middle.
Yeah, and some that they're, you know, we still have some potential on some of those because we still have another 5 years in the 2020s for those, you know, Disney to announce they're heading in those directions.
It was fun to revisit this. Like, I can't believe it's been 5 years already since we've made these predictions. But it was fun to revisit and see, like how close we were actually on some of these. But that wraps up the show for this week. I want to thank everybody again for listening. If you've not done so, please leave us a rating or a review. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.